Oh, another match point.
Incredible third set here.
They changed their strategy a little bit, and they fought their way back in.
There it is. Game, set, and match.
Hello and welcome to the 2024-25 APTA Tour. We're live from the Glenview Club in Gulf, Illinois, bringing you the Chicago Charities Grand Prix with live streaming brought to you by the APTA membership and our tour presenting sponsors, Volley and Corient. Tournament support has been provided by the following local sponsors: Wintrust, Illinois Bone and Joint, Viking, and CPTC. I'm Patty Hogan along with Brian Fegg, bringing you women's quarterfinal action between the up-and-coming team of B. Lopez and Taya Page, up against the veteran team of Allison Morgan and Charlotte Sikora. Welcome, Brian.
Awesome. Thanks so much for having me, Patty. And we're in for a real treat here as the players are all kind of gathering around the net. I'll wait 1 second for them to get situated before I introduce each. But in the booth, we have Rob Laboon. So thanks, Rob, for being up there. And Patty, like I just said, I'm really excited for this one. I think this is one where we have a more classical paddle team, I would say, versus a major up-and-coming one. I know you know B pretty well from the New Jersey connection. Isn't that correct?
Yeah, I've gotten to know her recently. Everyone's going to know about B. Lopez. She won the mixed nationals last year with Alvi Regalado. She's definitely one of the bright young stars on the women's tour. She met her partner, Taya Page, playing summer paddle, Brian, up in the Connecticut League. And they decided to team up this year. And, you see a lot of retooling of partners in the game, and it's natural. Teams kind of will play until some point where they feel like, you know what, I think we're better off trying to team up with someone who has a different skill set, and that's what she's done. And, they are off to a great start this season. They played in Baltimore, Brian, where they made it to the finals and came out on the losing end of a match against Hanish and Zabori, but no shame in that. And we're off with Charlotte Sikora serving over to B. Lopez. So on the far side over in that deuce court, that is B. Lopez. And the ad side on the far court, that's Taya Page. On the near side, just hitting the overhead, that's Charlotte Sikora. And that's Allison Morgan, who just hit that volley. We got a lot of matching outfits going on out here, Brian.
Yeah, Patty, they're making it hard for us to help everybody out here. But, Taya is Page has a visor on in the backhand. So that's one way I am going to do it. Other side of the net, we're a little more fortunate that Allison Morgan has blonde hair, makes it a little easier, and in the xenon, in the black sweatshirt with the white labeling on the back.
Sure, she's the shorter of the two players. Sikora, just good pickup there on the half volley. Taller of the players, easy to figure them out. And you see the matching outfits, stolen, of course, from the one and only Hanish and Zabori, who love the matching outfits. Got to always give them the shout out for the matching outfits.
Absolutely. And last live stream I said, maybe next time we will match. That is not the outfit we're going to wear, Patty. We'll come up with something maybe slightly better for both of us.
Are we going tights or not, Brian?
Oh boy.
Leggings?
If
maybe not.
Maybe not. If I'm remote, maybe, but we can't tell anybody.
So here we have Morgan Sikora with their backs to us. And, they have put themselves in the conversation, top 3 teams in the country. Maybe one of those teams that, who haven't won a nationals yet. You're like, are they getting close? Are they getting close? And they're getting close. They're a wonderful team, wonderful women, great competitors out there. They're both teaching pros. Allison Morgan is co-director at the Birchwood Club. Charlotte Sikora runs her own company, Racket Odyssey, travels around the globe. Anybody need, You know, she does lessons. You name the sport, she does the lessons. We talked about that earlier, how these women have so much talent at the game's top players, and they can teach any racket sport, and they can play any racket sport really well. They have amazing God-given talents, but they've put in the work, and Charlotte Sikora and Allison Morgan have worked really hard as a team, Brian, to make themselves stronger and stronger, and added tools every single season. Break a serve there against Sikora, Lopez, and Paige up a game in the first set.
Yeah, Patty, they've worked really hard to continue to rise up the rankings, and they are, I would say, somewhat firmly in that top, 3 to 4 conversation here, along with, Hana Subori, as you just mentioned, as well as Elliott and Burris, and again, this will be very fun to see, that team that we just said, as a top 3 going against a up-and-coming team that has all the talent in the world, right, and is really finding form.
Well, here's the thing. This up-and-coming team, they've only played 2 tournaments together, Brian. So, it's really early in the season here. They played Montclair, where they made it to the semis, and they went out to Alexandre and Macy Elliott. And like we referred to earlier, they made it to the finals at Baltimore. They consider themselves already a top 4 team, Brian, just so you know.
Oh.
They're real confident of their abilities. This will be their 3rd event together, and your national rankings are based on your top 3 results. So once they have a 3rd result, reaching the quarters even of Chicago Charities is going to give them lots of national ranking points and put them into the conversation about top teams in the women's game. And they are a treat to watch. You can see they're bouncy, they're joyful, they're having a great time out there. They really enjoy and seem to thrive off each other and feel like they can constantly feed off of each other and get so many offensive opportunities from the baseline, Brian. In the last match, we talked about Cran and Herschel and how do they build a point and what do they pull the trigger on, where total opposite kind of match here with the skills that Paige and Lopez bring to the table here. I mean, you're going to just see some offensive shots from all over the court. Paige we haven't seen as much of as we have seen of Lopez, but, the woman's a baller. She loves the competition. She wants to be the very best in the game. She loves playing that ad court so she can hit. She's got a killer forehand drive, Brian, that just unbelievable, and that's why she's over in that ad court. Lopez has much more match experience out of the deuce court, but clearly Paige feels a lot more comfortable in that ad court. And we'll just see, as the match goes on, in the finals in Baltimore, the Zabori overhead against the Paige screenplay was a tough matchup for them in that match. But Zabori's got wonderful overhead variety and, phenomenal hands. So, I'll be curious to see if Morgan and Sikora are able to, work the play into that ad court and see if they can't pull off some Zabori-like overheads to break this team down. But Brian, I think this match is a pick'em. I've got to say, that's how strongly I feel about the play of Lopez and Paige and the talent they bring to the table. And quite honestly, they have no pressure out here. They're out here where Morgan Sikora, they're battle tested. They are warriors out here. And so this match, if anybody's going to feel some pressure, I think it's them in this match.
Yeah, you know what? They are match tough, as you said, Patty, and it is a quote-unquote home tournament for them. So, yeah, absolutely, there might be some pressure. I'm sure they both have some of their contingent membership, watching right now. There are probably double the people watching this match that there were for the last one that ended a mere 10 minutes ago. So, yeah, absolutely agree with the pressure. I think, though, I haven't played Allison Morgan. I've played Adam Morgan, her husband, A. Morgan, and he is an incredibly tough out, and Allison is also. So while absolutely is a pick'em, I will give the nod just to the experience. And look, Sikora can bring her own offense. You just saw that there. I think it'll be just a matter of who can sustain their peak longer, and as a result, cause a little more errors, like we saw again in the last match. Some more errors crept in, and that results in losing games. It's that simple.
And Brian, what a different tempo right off the bat from that last match. And all four of these women, I feel like they're ready, they're dialed in. Every one of them has started off this match, and they're on it. There's no waiting game. They're not waiting anything out. Everybody's attacking when they get the opportunity, and really high quality start to this match for all four players.
Patty, I'm sweating watching. I'm going to have to start taking off a sweatshirt or two watching. I mean, they are running around. They're swinging hard. I mean, this is a grueling athletic match here. It's a positive that this wasn't around before, right? Because these are the matches where you got to give it all you have to really, grind for 2 hours, 2.5 hours to get a win.
Right. So early lead here for Lopez and Page. And the thing why I say there's pressure on Morgan Sikora, because they're the veteran team here. And I feel like the confidence level that Page and Lopez possess, there's something some people would say, is it an arrogance? No, and it's not an arrogance or a cockiness. It's a confidence in themselves and their ability, Brian, and that's the difference. And so they won't back down from any situation out here. And I would expect this to be a really high caliber women's match. And, that's why when you get to the quarters, semifinals, you're going to see the best in our sport, and the best bring out the best in others as well. So I think this is going to be a phenomenal match.
Totally, and we know that, this young team of Lopez and Page are newer to the sport, right? They I'm sure played high-end tennis elsewhere. For all the viewers who also play tennis or play another racket sport, and you're watching this and go, oh, that's something that I think I could do. Let's see it. Obviously want to grow the game and get more players involved. And that's how, they're here live on the stream, right? They probably saw it and being played at a club or on a stream and said, hey, I think I can do that.
These are Rackets professional at the Orange Lawn Club in New Jersey. Brian, you've been there before. Have you ever played on their beautiful grass courts?
Patty, I have played on their grass courts before. They are immaculate. I feel like a lefty, I would say like, Roger Federer or something that'd be very insulting to him. I'm going to say a like Leighton Hewitt-esque player on the grass, just trying to run around and keep the ball in play and maybe win some points. The grass is exceptional on Orange Lawn.
Yeah, great facility, and they're lucky to have two of these amazing players in B. Lopez, Alvi Regalado, part of their teaching crew over there at Orange Lawn. They're doing a great job. B, as we mentioned, won mixed nationals last year with Alvi Regalado. She played tennis for Columbus State in Georgia. And, she's got the pedigree, of greatness. And I think that I really think her game is going to keep her I think she's going to be at the top of this game for a long time, Brian. Taya, her partner, Paige, I don't know if I mentioned B. Lopez was born in Spain. Taya was born in Croatia. She's married to Antonio Page. She lives in Stamford, Connecticut, and teaches at Stanford Yacht Club. She played college tennis at Ole Miss. Graduated in 2019, and Brian, she played some pro tennis.
That is quite the pedigree for both of them. And as they go up 3-0, Patty, this is kind of what you were talking about a bit. I think they're just jumping out really strong here. And you see on the right side of the screen, Sikora and Morgan are talking through. They're going to have to figure out a way to slow it down, I think, right? Maybe get some impatient errors out of this younger team in Lopez and Page and see if they can kind of flip the script here in the first set.
So what I didn't mention from the Baltimore event last weekend is who they beat in the quarterfinals or the semifinals. So,
let me guess. Can I guess who it is?
Do you want to guess who they beat in the quarters?
No, I actually know who they beat in the quarters, Patty. I'm just kidding. Fire away.
I know. Go for it.
Nope, all you. I'm stealing your thunder.
Okay, so anyway,
here.
they took out number 5 team in the country, Kerry Delmonico, Lauren Gebbia, and they crushed them. They beat them 0-2. I mean, that was phenomenal. They get off the court, they jump back on the court, and they take out our 2-time defending national champs, Burris and Elliott, 6-1, 7-5, Brian.
So impressive.
They've got a huge win over who you could argue would be the best team in the sport right now, and that's why I'm saying they have no fear. And Brian, they are front runners. They know how to play with a lead, which is not a good thing for Morgan and Sakura.
Nope, and you see Allison Morgan really trying to, move in the backcourt here. She's really trying to, get loose here. I think that, again, it's gone so quickly. They're not fully dialed in yet. I mean, they will get comfortable, but you can tell they're a little thrown for a loop here.
I don't think they're surprised. They know all about Lopez and Page, so I don't think they're really surprised. I think they're just, when we talk about a lights out start to a match, all four women, like I said, started out pretty phenomenally well. And I mean, for a young team with so much firepower, how many unforced errors have Page and Lopez made in 3 games? Like
2, maybe.
It's a pretty good way to start a match.
It was, and a very, very, interesting cutter there. It had a lot of movement. Allison Morgan had plenty of time to catch up to it, but really hard to slam on the brakes there and control the ball pace to keep it in.
Right, and, a different kind of shot. Do we try that at home? Sure, I think you try everything at home, and what do you have nerve doing in a match? And, that shot kind of looped and sat up a tiny bit, but, I mean, they won the point off it. It opened up the court. It pulled Morgan way up out of her comfort zone, so highly effective shot at this point.
Try it at home. If I try that at home, Patty, everybody better have a helmet on because I have no idea where things going. So I do like, though, hey, you know what? It's the right shot to hit at that time. You can't be afraid to try to win when you have a shot like that.
Great down the line shot from Morgan. Quick switch at the net to get Sakura, player to the left of the 2 players at the net. That's an intentional play by some of the top teams to put themselves in a position, Brian, where they feel like they're in their best position, to cover 80% of the shots their opponents are about to hit. Great defense by Sakura right there. Kind of hung that ball up on the back screen for the human forehand over there, Taya Page, and I wouldn't think that would be a good overall strategy too much of the time.
You're correct, Patty. You do not want to feed the beast, for a lack of a better term. That's risky business when someone has that brute of a forehand. Avoid that at all costs to guarantee yourself, the next shot in the point.
And Brian, again and again, I'll probably say it too much, but when they do pull the trigger, the team of Lopez and Page, you can see they pull it, and it's a high percentage drive. It looks really flashy because you see huge windups. They hit with extraordinary pace, but it's really controlled by the amount of spin they put on the ball, and so they can tee off and make a really high percentage of their drives. You talked about margin for error, Brian, in the first match.
And we've seen that humongously on the far side of the court here with that forehand, again, in person, really, really hard, but it has a ton of topspin on it, very safe for her. I'm sure she could hit it 30 or 40% harder, but for what purpose, right? You're accomplishing the same thing with maybe a little less speed, but more spin.
And I think the thing is, Page and Lopez, you can just feel them getting better every minute they play. And, they're incredible defenders. They're, the one vulnerability in Montclair was exposed by Zabori on her overhead, but no one has the Zabori overhead. So it's not even factoring in, and I think we're going to have to be careful here. I'll be curious if Allison Morgan starts taking some more of the overheads. I think Charlotte has, much more height and reach, but she's hitting those rollers kind of into that back screen on that second panel and really juicing the ball for Page's forehand. Right there, she decided, let me go to the backhand, but then that becomes a super risky, high-risk shot. I think she could be well-served hitting, that hard roller we talked about earlier, just unloading on it perhaps, but I would even put some off-speed balls up the middle here. I don't think they're going to beat you, up the middle. I think as the ball moves to the second panel here, like that's the spot I think they have to hit more. Aim it right to the middle. Let's see what Lopez and Page do with that.
There's an old
You
saying.
see how they switched and
Yeah.
got Allison Morgan over there, and she's just hitting the off-speed kind of floater overhead, letting the ball drop, just trying to keep that ball deep. She didn't quite hit it deep enough, and again, Paige got another great look on the ball. I think Paige is just getting way too many looks on her forehand out of that ad court, Brian.
Yeah, it seems that they're just kind of, again, placing it there and wanting her to swing, but I'm not sure why you'd want to do that, Patty, with that forehand, right? I think that might be the worst place to go with the overhead. So I think I would play the middle of the court more, or that's a great overhead, and that is she turned her shoulders and hit more righty spin to the side screen. I'd go side screen all day, right? I think if you can get it there, but to your point, they're not getting it there, and they're just feeding forehands for her, which is a dangerous, dangerous spot.
And I'll tell you why it's happening also, Brian, is someone named B. Lopez. How much respect are they showing her
Oh my
in
goodness.
this match?
She hasn't seen a forehand yet because
they're avoiding her altogether.
Altogether, and that
as the net team.
And that roller overhead, it needs to be either, I think, harder to force her to really move, or you just can't hit a roller there. It's too warm, Patty, and again, the reason you hit a roller is it keeps the ball low, but with how warm it is, it's coming off too hot. I think, to your point, Allison Morgan's overheads, while they don't have, I'm not going to say like a lot of spin, that's not their purpose, right? They've been low in the middle of the court, so I think that's the overhead they need to work with, and then eventually you'll get one that can catch them off guard. That's a great close by Sakura there. And as you said, B. Lopez was there in a lot of time, right? I don't know if that's the winning overhead necessarily, but when you have Sakura's hands, it does help quite a bit.
Charlotte Sakura is serving. Taya Page about to crush a forehand return to serve from the ad court. Well, maybe she didn't crush it. See the footwork from B. Lopez in that deuce court, Brian?
I'm exhausted
She's moving
watching
around,
her.
creating offensive opportunities for herself because of her footwork.
Unbelievable. She moved from almost the doubles alley over there, right, to the middle of the court, and still was able to hit a blistering forehand. Great movement, great footwork. Yeah, and that overhead that she just hit, I want her to hit more of those. Those are the ones, like the roller is not going to be as effective. Getting more righty spin, and I think if she wants to really bother her, you need to let it drop slightly more, Patty. She's, really tall, which is a huge, huge advantage on hitting that. If she lets it drop slightly more, I think she'll get more, righty spin action, which I think may bother Paige in the corner, back to your point with the Zabori-esque overheads.
Right, it's got to be more of a cutter type of shot.
Yes, which I do not have, so I'm just talking from watching everyone else who does have it hit it.
But you can see Paige knows how to position herself. She's moving around the baseline, and when she sees Sakura getting ready to hit the overhead, she's kind of sneaking over, so she's a little less vulnerable in that corner.
And that backhand was unbelievable. I'm, again, very close. I couldn't see that coming at all. It was so deceptive, and they were lulled to sleep, Patty. She has not driven that once yet, and then that's the perfect time to whip it out. So
Brian, how much do you like that volley machine?
Patty, that volley machine's unbelievable. That backhand we just saw, you can work on that using the volley machine. You can set it up so you're getting overheads from that. You can set it up where you're serving and then getting a return from it. The volley machine is the full package. Any overhead, any lob, any screen, any drive you want to work on, that is the tool to do it. I highly recommend, any player that has an opportunity, if your club has one, get out there and try to use the machine. It's also perfect for multiple people, not just one, but you can have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 people doing it on a court. It is a remarkable thing and really a game changer in platform tennis teaching and coaching.
So, Brian, who's serving? Can you reset the players for us?
Yes, I can reset the players for us. So right now serving is Taya Page and her partner B. Lopez is up at net. Returning, we have Charlotte Sikora. And in the ad side of the far court in the blue, we have Allison Morgan.
The strength of Morgan Sikora is the pressure that they apply off the return of serves. You see, when they get rolling, it's because Morgan gets those returns down. You see them sneaking in. Sikora is particularly adept at doing that, where she'll play in on the return of serve. And we'll see if they can't start to string together some points here and come up with some offense and get themselves back in the set. They're not yielding anything. They're going to fight. And they know 1 point at a time, 1 game at a time, Brian.
That's all
There's
you can do.
no concession
in this
into
game.
The second set right here from Morgan and Sikora.
100%. And Patty, it's funny, I can't really say they're playing that poorly. It's just that you're seeing just such an offensive, athletic onslaught from B. Lopez and Taya Page right now. It's just remarkable. They're not missing, and they're swinging at such a effective clip. I totally agree, Patty. They're just going to have to kind of weather this storm and hope, they miss a little more in the second, I believe.
Yeah, they may have to go into a stall pattern, Brian. I mean, you mentioned it in an earlier match, and sometimes when nothing's going your way, it's not because you're playing poorly. It's just that other team is just riding an exceptional wave. And you do, to your point, you got to hope they cool off. And so, I think they've got to slow this match down.
So, Patty, for maybe our less experienced listeners or clubs, you mentioned the word wave, of riding a wave or sustaining an opponent's wave. What do you mean by that?
When you're hot, when they're hot, recognize that they're hot. And I don't know, I feel like sometimes it's very hard. You get a lot of club level players, they'll play a match and they'll be like, oh, we were just coming back, we were just figuring it out. And then as the pro, you've been watching them for 3 years, lose these close matches, 6-3, 6-4 or something. And it's like, well, when are you going to really actually put the 2 and 2 together? And I think it's an acknowledgement that your opponent is just playing so great and at a high level that there's nothing you're doing that's effective yet. So then you need to go into a stall pattern almost. And that's where in paddle you can do that by throwing up a lot of lobs, off-speed drives, and just elongating points, just really playing much, much longer points.
Absolutely. And I would argue for the Lopez and Page side, Lopez is riding Page's wave and is being the more consistent player so that, look, if Page's level dips a bit, it's not going to overly affect the team because Lopez's level is just sustaining high. Would you agree with that, Patty?
I agree with everything you say,
Wow,
Brian.
that is remarkable. I wouldn't, but, that is something that is
10
very...
years of marriage, that's what you're going to strive for, Brian.
Deal. But that is a big thing with partnerships in paddle that people, I think, do not take into account. If you're playing with somebody and you go, okay, does this person have more offense than me? Do they have better overheads than me? And then how can they sustain that? If it's unsustainable, right, and they're going to keep swinging, as the partner, you need to be more methodical with how you're playing and limit your errors to make sure that, okay, if my partner racks up some errors, we're not losing 4 games in a row. We might only lose 1.5 games, and then you're still in the set. And I think it's, that's a big thing that, people, I think, need to work on and think about playing with every partner they have? Is your partner going to ride your wave, or are you going to ride their wave, kind of thing?
Yep. And Brian, I was messing with you a little while ago, talking about 10 years of marriage. I said, that's your goal, where when your wife says whatever and you say, I absolutely agree with everything you said. That's what your goal is after your first 10 years of your marriage, Brian.
Okay. Well, talk to me on the stream in 10 years, Patty, and we'll see how it's going, okay? What is that, 2034 Charities?
2034. We'll be back.
We'll be back, exactly.
You'll be back. I'll be back. Brian, I mean, there's something to be said for these matching outfits. I mean, maybe you and your partner need to go shopping tonight.
I'm usually not a big matcher, but I think you might be onto something here. I think it brings good vibes, and it just makes sure everyone knows who your partner is. You know, instead of you having to tell everybody who you're playing with, they can just tell who you're playing with. Maybe you're onto something, Patty.
I wonder if they had matching Halloween costumes.
Well, I don't think that would positively help their play if they were playing in their costumes, but it definitely might. And that offensive chip by Allison Morgan, do you think that's just her, again, pressing a little bit, knowing, oh, there is a slight opening there, I need to get it because I might not get another one?
And I think she just missed.
Okay.
I think she just was a tiny bit early on the shot. I think she had a tiny bit more time, and I love that shot, and she's used that off-speed ball to draw the players in, which then opens up the court behind them for the next shot as a lob potentially. So I don't mind the miss. I like that from her because she's not an overpowering type of paddle player, so she needs to do those off-speed shots. So, Brian, we're going to be right back right after this message. We're from the APTA Tour presented by CSM Media.
At Corient, wealth management begins and ends with you. We believe the more personal the solution, the more powerful the result. We treat your goals as our own. We never lose focus on the life you want to build. And our experienced advisors design custom-built strategies to help you get there. It's time for a wealth management experience as sophisticated as you are. It's time for Corient.
Welcome back to the APTA Tour. We're at the Chicago Charities event in Gulf, Illinois at the beautiful Glenview Club. I'm Patty Hogan along with Brian Fegg bringing you quarterfinal action where B. Lopez and Taya Page had a dominant set up against one of our country's favorite and top teams, Allison Morgan and Charlotte Sikora. Just outstanding play right out of the box, high level of play. And, you know, they're looking invincible right now, Brian.
Yeah, Patty. I just, during a break was trying to think through, okay, what can they change? What can Sikora and Morgan kind of riddle here to get more into this? And, they have to slow it down, I think, and kind of hope that Lopez and Page cool off a bit. We talked about riding, waves in the first set, and they were playing about as well as I've seen somebody play paddle. I mean, they weren't missing. Their drives were connecting. Their overheads were good. Volleys were good. I think this is one of those situations where Morgan and Sikora need to hit a massive reset button and try and recalibrate here in the second set.
And, there's no doubt Morgan and Sikora can come back in this match. I have no hesitation in saying this thing could go 3 real easily. You're looking at, Allison Morgan is currently the APTA Cup leader on the women's side. She's earned 980 points so far. She's a couple of hundred above her partner, ahead of Charlotte Sikora at this point. It's the season-long standings, and Graham McNerney, last year's winner, is also on top of he's leading the way with the men's side, tied with Jose Salazar. The APTA consists of so many events, Brian, and every single weekend APTA is putting on lots of action. And in fact, next weekend we have a double treat, Brian. The APTA will be live streaming for the Cleveland Masters event, as well as the Milton Point event, a new event in Rye, New York on the men's side. Later in November, we'll go to the Aronimink Open outside Philadelphia, then the Bourbon Ball in Louisville, Kentucky, then on to the Westchester Classic, Long Island Dwayne Hayden Invitational in December, followed by the Detroit Grand Prix. So, Brian, you can't come up for air because the APTA's got something every single weekend for those of you who love watching platform tennis on the live stream.
Patty, and knowing the effort that goes into all of these tournaments, from, not only you giving up your time to be in the booth and everybody in the booth with me, but also all the clubs, right, giving up their court time that, their members might be using and things like that. Just an unbelievable effort it takes to put these events on. So, shout out to all the clubs and people involved in these events coming up. It's a massive undertaking, so big thank you from us.
And Brian, you became impassioned with the sport. You witnessed so many great events in New Jersey. New Jersey loves platform tennis, loves hosting big stage tournaments, nationals, mixed nationals, junior nationals, you name it. We do it all in New Jersey. And, we can't thank the tournament directors who volunteer their time, do an outstanding job. And to your point, the courts and the generosity of spirit and giving that all these clubs have to help showcase the game's greatest players would never happen, and it doesn't happen in other sports, and it's what makes the sport of platform tennis unique. And, if you're in Cleveland, you're watching Charities, but you're anywhere near Chicagoland, for the next 3 days, go to the Glenview Club in Gulf, Illinois. Everyone's welcome. They put on a great stage. There's no welcome committee like those Chicagoland people, and it's what makes this sport so special. So if you're anywhere nearby, go to these events and, follow the APTA tour, because when you can see this up close in person, you can learn so much to improve your game as a paddle player. Brian, a million years ago, I remember Hank Irvine, longtime great flow Hall of Famer out of the Short Hills Club, early on when I got into the game, and he was one of the greatest players our game ever saw, phenomenal teacher. And his advice to me, he said, when you're watching a paddle match, just watch the best player on the court. Watch their movements. Watch how they anticipate. Watch their paddle preparation. Because when I was a newbie to the game, Brian, I just watched it, and I just watched in amazement at how good everybody was. And I was like, oh, I hope someday that I can do that and play those screenshots and handle those hard drives, where, that's the thing. Anybody can do it, and anybody can get better. And that's what practice, it's all about the practice. And that's why I love the volley machine, Brian, because there were so many times when I was working on my game where I would have loved to have had a ball machine that would feed me, the return of serve that I had to face in an upcoming tournament from, the amazing team, let's say, of Ari Vian, whoever it was, in whatever time we played the sport. But, that volley machine, just another way where every club member who wants to get better can get better now. And they get the information from the machine. Love it. So that's a great shot of Charlotte Sikora, owner-operator, great instructor from Rackets Odyssey, but overpowering return of serve from B. Lopez out of that deuce court.
And Patty, we've seen a few foot faults on this court today, actually, on that same side. So I think they might just be slightly cheating to get into the net when there's big returns coming out of that backhand side.
Brian, is sun a factor right here for which of the players is sun a factor?
Yeah, it's a great question. So the sun is directly on Allison Morgan and Charlotte Sikora's face. If they turn their body enough, it shouldn't be in their line of vision at net. But if if they're
They turn their bodies which way?
if they so she's opening up and she's looking at the ball, Sakura, it shouldn't be bothering her. It'll be more of a factor when B. Lopez and Taya Page are at the net.
Gotcha.
But I think the biggest factor the sun is just causing is the temperature. We see Allison Morgan's down to a short sleeve shirt. I think she normally is wearing a short sleeve shirt when she's playing, but it is still pretty warm out with the sun. I expect again, if they played this match in 2 hours, the dynamic of the ball would be very, very different.
Brian, what a great shot from the Glenview Club. They have you're positioned in one building. I'm in another building a little further away, out of sight. But on the far side, you see that paddle hut, which just rocks all weekend long of the Charities tournament. It is a giant cocktail party. And Saturday night, Chicago Charities, there's few tournaments like that with the vibe. And, Brian, what I love about the Chicago crowd is I remember playing here and people talk to you during the match. They're encouraging you. They'll go, ooh, when you make a stupid shot. They let you know it.
Oh, absolutely.
They know what they're viewing.
Absolutely. The Chicago faithful knows where to show up and wants to show up for their own. Again, there's a big, contingency of people really rooting on Chicago's team right now of Allison Morgan and Charlotte Sakura. And, you can't see from the camera angle necessarily how many people are not only, behind the court, but are in the parking lot, kind of just past the camera's view, and then on the other side of the court, watching our number one seats on the other court. So, really big shout out to the Glenview Cub for again putting on such a great event. And you said it's a cocktailish party. Yeah, everybody just really shows up, has a good time, and understands where to throw their support. When they show up here.
Let's go right here. Come on.
And the camera angle where you saw the parking lot, what you didn't see was Midnight Paddle helps out with a lot of tournaments. Shout out to Mo Morrison, who's got a great truck over there with amazing apparel, great designs, stylish designs. Mo's done a wonderful job, really kind of making the attire and some of what you see out there a little bit, like a great vibe, real fun. Kudos to Mo.
Yeah, Mo is an exceptionally good guy and a good paddle player as well. I love hanging out with him and being on the paddle court with him.
I mean, he wants to hang out till midnight every time you're out with him, right?
Oh, probably later than that, Patty. We already talked about how I'm getting older and older. I can't be doing that anymore. But he is the definition of what a paddle player is, right? Competitive on the court, off the court, an exceptionally good guy and willing to help you in any way he can.
Yeah, great support for tournament directors looking for favors apparel for their events. Mo helped us in the commentating booth, but it's kind of hard to be out there running the show and inside talking as well. So we've lost him to the outside.
So due set at 0-1 here, Patty, and I don't want to sound dramatic, but do you think this is a must-win game here for Morgan Sakura?
Kind of.
You can say kind of. You can say kind of. I think it is because you need to get some momentum in this game, right? And they've played a great game, and it's this game more than a lot is so more mental, right? And for you to play a good game and not maybe get the game and get the win of it. Owen. That
Great
was a
overhead.
a
This
great
is
overhead.
gigantic. This is a gigantic point, Brian. I was playing it cool. That was a great question. And you and I both kind of sensed the moment and the opportunity. And you don't know how many opportunities, Morgan and Sakura are going to get because of the firepower and just consistency that you're seeing from Lopez and Page. Shout out to everyone watching from Nyack, New York, including one of our fellow commentators, Jerry Vian. See, Paige is doing a good job, Brian, this weekend over, in this match so far, where she's blocking up that corner a little bit more effectively than she was able to do against Hanish and Zabori last weekend in the finals from Baltimore. And, that's the great thing. You play these tournaments, and like I said, they get better every minute they play right in front of our eyes out here. And that's the whole thing. She's not going to lose 5 matches for the same reason, Brian. She's going to make adjustments in her positioning so that, maybe how she got broken down won't exactly happen to her in the same way. I'm so impressed with her play. She played the game a couple years ago, took some time off, completed her master's degree, came back to the game. She's teaching up in Stanford, like we mentioned, at the yacht club. And I mean, these women, they have a national title. They think they're going to be playing for it. They are hopeful, and that's every match they play. They're working toward that goal for them as a team this season.
And Patty, these are the points that Morgan Secor want to play, right? Even though, it's a long one. The longer these points go, I would say the percentage of them winning goes up. That's not anything saying that as a tight volley miss there from Paige, but the longer the points go, I like Morgan Secor's chances to pull it out just from, again, pure experience perspective. And you hear the big crowd cheering for them after that game. Patty, I think the tide could turn here.
In that point, you saw how Sakura just, they had switched out, Brian, and Sakura stayed in that ad court. And maybe that's something. And like we pointed out in these matches, these women are so great. They can play any side effectively, either side. And it's all about the matchups. And sometimes it works better to put one of you in one particular side of the court, even though you play it usually against other players the other way. And I kind of like that look with Sakura switching over into that ad court. She can be a much more imposing figure in a way and maybe get the shots that she needs to loosen herself up. And that was a great swing on the ball.
Yeah, high forehand. You want to, in this game, whenever you're able to hit down on the ball and be offensive, that's obviously a big plus. And that was the right swing. She just slightly too late on it and barely hit it into the net.
Yeah, and it was a little bit over toward the middle, and that's where she'll have to see, you got to pick and choose. I want her to take the shot, and I want her to be imposing and a threat, and I love this. Like, this is what you see with them. They'll do a lot of different formations, kind of try to tempt players to hit balls at certain spots. And so they're pulling it all out here. I mean, 3 overheads that broke Sakura over there. That last one was really well placed. A little confusion. I think that Allison was coming over to try to help out on it, Brian, and I'm not sure there was an early call because Sakura kept moving for the ball.
Yeah, it's just tricky. I heard the call, but I think you're right, Patty. Just slightly too late.
Brian, this is so fun. I mean, really great action. It's like watching a highlight film. Like the variety of shots and the racket skills all 4 women possess. It's really fun. So, Brian.
So, Patty.
Isn't this a great camera angle?
This is a phenomenal camera angle to really see, again, how fast they're moving at net. And again, I think it tells you how much court coverage both teams are having to do, the angles they're trying to hit it at. Absolutely. Patty, she was in the right position, just got kind of tangled between hitting the backhand volley and the forehand one. I think, though, you can see they're getting a little more comfortable. I feel like they're getting a few more looks. But that would have been a very good, nice game to have to, make sure they have some cushion going into this next service game.
Yeah, I like what I'm seeing with Sakura Morgan. I like Sakura over in that ad court. I mentioned that, and I really like. I feel like she has such reach, and I do feel like for them to come back in this match, we need some Charlotte Sakura highlight time here.
Do you think in the backcourt at net or both? Probably both, I would think, right, Patty?
I think backcourt because I just feel like she can be an imposing figure out there. At the net, I'm kind of I'm liking Morgan with her low overheads, her low point of contact, much lower than Sakura's, keeping the ball down because these girls are high ball hitters. Paige and Lopez, any ball that's that's right in front of them, they're just going to tag. And so I think Morgan can keep more of her overheads a little bit lower.
Yeah, I would agree. And I think the Charlotte Sakura roller from, at net on the right side of the net to B. Lopez, right? B is moving middle because she hasn't really had anyone going in her corner. If Charlotte can just take pace off and just aim for the nick when she gets the opportunity, I don't think it opens up any offensive plays necessarily. So I think totally agree with you on both fronts.
Again, I like the little dash from Sakura. She went in just to put some pressure, just to make sure Lopez has her in her sights. You're starting to feel it for Morgan Sakura much more so right now.
Absolutely. I think they've kind of calm. No, I'm not saying they weren't calm, but they're not missing as many balls as maybe they were in the first. And I think the wave on the Lopez and Page side has gone down slightly, right? And now we're getting into this paddle match, I think. And I think this game is huge for Allison Morgan and Charlotte Sakura, because if they can get it back to 2-2, it's okay. Hey, we lost the first set, but we're still tied, and we're kind of resetting here.
All right, Brian, I'm definitive. I like Allison Morgan hitting more of the overheads, and I like Sakura more in the ad court in this matchup.
I haven't seen anything to say you're wrong, Patty, so I will agree with you there.
Brian, after about 3 or 4 games, I said, how many unforced errors have Lopez and Page made? So, Brian, I'm going to ask you the question again. How many games have we played in this match? 10 games.
10 games. And
how many unforced errors from Lopez and Page?
Yeah, I'm going to say about maximum 12. And that's a maximum, and I would say probably 4 of them have been in the last 2 games. That's an unbelievable get by Sakura. But, Patty, that's a pretty darn good ratio with how often they are swinging and being offensive, right? If they were just lobbing and being safe, that'd be one thing. But they are being super offensive here.
Hey, look at that slash overhead. Got an error out of Lopez in the corner. We haven't said that before because they haven't really hit her that many balls. So why not go after her? And a player is great off the deck like Lopez, challenge her in the screens and see what she can do with it. She actually loves the screens, though, and one of her favorite shots, she loves driving off the screen. So they've got to be careful careful for that as well.
That's a great overhead there, and Paige read it in the backcourt, just couldn't run up there fast enough to get up there and karate chop it over the net.
Yeah, and Paige gambled, and she just, it's good she didn't bet too much money on that. It's only 1 point. She knew she was dead. She saw that waterfall type shot coming, so she just figured, let me just take a stab at it and see if I can't block it. Brian, it looks like another quarterfinal action match just is underway. We've got our two-time defending national champs, Burrs and Elliott, up against Banks and O'Sullivan. Following these matches, we'll go to the second half of the draw where we'll see Hallballer and Jackson up against Besanova, and Bukian. And then we'll also see another match of Georgia Alexandre and Liz Cruz up against Hanish and Sabori. Great action all day and all night. Well, we hope it's not all night.
I need some sleep, Patty, before
You
I'm
need to
playing
get to
tomorrow.
bed early, Brian.
Correct.
You've got a big tournament tomorrow.
I have a big tournament to play tomorrow, so yes, I will not be watching paddle all night. I will be watching paddle responsibly until I go to bed.
Boy, your parents raised you well, Brian.
Something like that. Something like that. I'll make sure to tell them you said that.
Sakura and Morgan, I feel like they got a bounce in their step, Brian. Don't you feel like they're playing much looser now?
Much looser, Patty, and although they haven't listened to what you said on the overheads, Sakura has listened to you and is hitting, I think, much safer balls, and the balls she's hitting are not in that danger zone where
Let's see, she got two volleys right on her shot. Little jumpy on that volley from Morgan. But I just think you can't do that with a player like Paige. You give her 8 drives, she's making 8, and it's just a matter of she finds the right spot. And she seems like she's pretty smart young player out there where she moves her drives a little bit and understands the importance of not hitting the exact same place, 2 times in a row. Just moving it a foot or 2 makes a huge difference in being able to defend, for the other team to try to defend it. So, Brian, this is where Allison Morgan, when she's turned her to her right, playing the side screen, she's looking right into the sun, right here. Is that the brutal sunspot or no, on the other side?
That is the sunspot on the other side, more so. The sun is behind the booth, so behind the camera right now. So it's actually, I think, probably the toughest sun. You see B. Lopez is really squinting. I think it's more so just affecting actually off the deck as well. My guess is it's slightly glistening off the court here too. So I'm going to be curious to see how people continue to return on that far side of the court.
You saw Sakura was setting up out of that ad court to return serve, was looking for her two-handed backhand, didn't get it, just punched back a forehand. I think that's a big thing for club level players. You can't bring it on both sides at all times, so pick a side that you're really looking for it. If you get the serve there, take a crack at it, but if not, just keep the ball in play.
Absolutely. This is not like tennis where you walk off the court and you go, I had 27 aces and 32 winners, right? It's more about losers. And if you don't get the spot you want, guess what? Lob it up, and maybe in 3 shots, if you lob well enough, you'll get that shot again. So totally agree, Patty. It's most people are not returning wanting both sides. It's really one or the other.
Morgan and Socorro have grabbed like almost 10 tour event wins in the last 2.5 seasons, Brian. They most recently won the Montclair Open this year, the first stop on the APTA Tour. Had a great win over George Alexander and Macy Elliott in the finals there, 3 sets, 6-4, 4-6, 6-2. They beat Vera Basanova and Gussie O'Sullivan, who were teamed up for that match for that tournament in the semis. You know, Morgan and Socorro, you just go through. You talk about a tough out. They are a phenomenal team, and every tournament they go to, they're aiming for the finals, Brian. They're totally capable of winning any tour event out there, and you know, they're games lucky to have them because they are lovely people as well.
Absolutely. And I'd say since this match started, we have maybe 20 more people behind the court on the far right, just out of the screen picture here, all cheering for them. After they won that game, huge roar for them as they secured it. So the tide has somewhat turned. I'm not going to say fully because it's, you know, I'd rather be up a set than not. But this will be a very interesting and I think very critical service game to kind of secure this lead in the second set here.
So interestingly enough, you know, I was just talking about all the tournament success Morgan and Socorro have. Last year's event, I just was looking at the draw, and Morgan Socorro actually went out in the quarters in this event to the team of Alexandra and Cruz in last year's Chicago Charities event. So the quarter was, you know, the Chicago event was their one stumbling block where they didn't make it out of the quarters. And that's where Alexandra and Cruz had a great run together, and we'll see if it continues this year for them in the charity event here. Brian, the charities always have great causes every year where they, part of the entry fees goes toward donating to a charitable choice of the tournament director, the tournament committee. Thus the name, the Chicago Charities. What a rock-solid low volley from Allison Morgan right there. She just set her paddle, bent her knees, held that fat paddle, just let the ball rebound off the paddle face. Beautiful low volley.
Absolutely, and you know, she's rock solid across the board, right? Whether it's a lob or a volley, you know, I'm not being a Chicago homer here, but if I'm trying to go, okay, how do I learn this game, right? Like, I think she's a very good person to watch because everything is very fundamentally sound.
Really good shot of Taya Page handling that ad-court corner. She's doing a wonderful job this afternoon. Brian kind of, and what I can see, she's improved her decision-making on when she's trying to block it, when she's looking for her drive, or when she's just, letting the ball hit the screen and hitting a defensive-minded kind of lob. And that's a great progression from last weekend where we said, Zabori's overhead kind of got the best of her in that corner. But I can see she's doing a really good job in that outcourt corner so far today.
I think both teams really sense the importance of this point and game, Patty. It's again, they're obviously not over hitting anything, right? We've seen pretty safe overheads, nothing like crazy or slashes or anything like that. And on the close side, right, we're not seeing Lopez or Page go for any massive offense, right? They're just playing smart paddle, knowing how critical this point is.
And Brian, that's what always happens in this game. No matter how spectacular play looks from time to time, every match, men or women's game, there's at some point where you just go into that mode of never miss. Keep the next ball in play. Get the ball over to your opponent on the other side of the net.
And that one, they just waited for the overhead, and Sakura used her height to get a little up down into the corner, making it really hard for Paige to get that ball back.
And, Brian, when we say, I felt that Morgan and Sakura had to work on slowing this match down a little bit. From the baseline, I don't know that that's what B. Lopez and Taya Page have to do. I feel like, they're locking down and not missing, but they still have to take their swings, and they can apply great pressure, and they're so consistent with their drives that for them, throwing in a drive is just as high a percentage of shot for them as throwing up a lob in a way. And so I think for them, that's how they took it to Morgan and Sakura here in the first set. I kind of, for their sake, would like them maybe to do that, just to apply a tiny bit more pressure.
Yeah, it feels like, in that first set, if we're going to use like a boxing analogy, they kind of came out and really had the first punch there, right, in that first set. And since then, Morgan and Sakura have obviously gotten a lot smarter and slowed it down. But I think you're right. Lopez and Page have slightly let themselves off the gas pedal. And I think they have opportunities to be offensive. And that doesn't, again, mean swing as hard as you can because you don't need to, but add in a little more offensive variety to get Morgan and Sakura less comfortable, because you can tell they're very comfortable right now in net with Sakura just hitting the righty overhead and then hits a roller, and then eventually she's trying to get the nick, right? I think this formula, that it needs to change for Lopez and Page here.
And I'd like to see Lopez, even though the play is going over so much into that ad-court corner, I'd like to see Paige insert herself and kind of move to the middle or, fake a blitz, kind of get inside the baseline a little bit just to make Morgan Sakura keeping the eye on her. They're isolating really beautifully over on that ad-court corner only here. And so, I want Lopez to even come over and present a wide open corner just to draw the ball to herself.
Absolutely. And I think I mentioned this earlier, Patty, where, yeah, you can, when you get hit the ball a lot, you get in a rhythm. We just saw Paige didn't miss there. But if B doesn't see a ball for 45 hits, it's natural to let down and get bored or not be as crisp as you might be. I totally agree. I think she needs to try and at least move slightly to the middle, give them a look, force them to go to her corner, just so that even there, right, she moved over and hit a good lob. It sets up this next ball that we're going to see here.
Well, and that's the thing. They are so mighty as a team because of the consistency of their drives, that they can apply so much pressure, drive after drive after drive, where I don't see that a lot of teams can do that in the women's game because of, they're so consistent. So that's one of their strengths as a team, and we want to see them use that strength.
Patty, did you know Corient is the official wealth sponsor of the APTA's 2024-2025 season?
I heard that, Brian.
Yeah. Corient is a fee-only wealth manager who puts their clients at the center of everything they do. To learn more, go to corient.com.
So, Brian, I mean, we both expected Morgan Sikora to come back after that 6-1 first set. You know, they have the ability. They're such great competitors, great players. They just hit the delete on that first set. They just knew it wasn't good, and they put it behind themselves. And, you know, right here, you feel it. They are playing so light and easy right now. The game's coming to them.
And that's a huge lesson for club players alike. You know, these are professionals we're watching out here, right? And professionals have a racket in their hand all the time. And sometimes it just doesn't happen, right, in that first set. Or if you're playing against somebody and they hit lights out, that doesn't mean you do anything necessarily different. It just means you have to critically maybe change some tweaks, not overly overhaul your game. And, you know, we're seeing that. To your point, they look so calm. And I can't say they've really done a lot different. They've just managed to slow it down. And you know, here's the score, right? 4-2, up 30-15 in this game.
Brian, I have an update on the other quarterfinal match. They are well underway and well into it. I think I missed the beginning of their match because I was focused on this. Versus Elliott won the first set over Banks O'Sullivan. 6-0 in the first set. They are up 4-2 in the second set.
Thanks for the update, Patty.
Sure. The winner of that match is, we're on the top half of the draw. We'll play the winner of this match. Brian, women's semifinal action resumes tomorrow morning. We have the semis and finals. Semis will be 9 a.m. Central Time. And women's final is slated for 12:30. Well, Brian, you know, when you join the announcing booth and, you know, you think about it, how long do matches last? Here you are. I mean, here's your second match, and it's looking like we're headed for another 3-set match here on the live stream.
I mean, Patty, I said in the first match I wanted bonus paddle. I didn't know that applied to both matches, but look, this is a phenomenal showcasing of, you know, masterclass mental strength and fortitude from Sikora and Morgan in the second set, and shot making from B. Lopez and Taya Page. And if it goes 3, I'm excited to see, because I think it could be a true toss-up, depending on if, as you kind of said earlier, hitting the reset button, if they're able to kind of delete this set and go into the third like they were in the first, it's a true toss-up, Patty.
You gave the nod at the beginning of this match to the veteran team, Morgan Sikora. They're making you look good, Brian.
You know, they're making themselves look good by just playing really solid paddle.
Great point.
And I'm just jumping on the higher seed and local team here, Patty, so I cannot take any credit for choosing them. I just know how solid they are from all the live streams I've watched of you and the rest of the team doing on this tour so far this season.
I think this would be a huge hole for Morgan Sikora, Brian, because I think, you start that third set, and I love the pressure that they can apply off of their return of serves. And being the veteran team, I think that could bode well for their success if this goes 3, which it looks like it's going to.
Yeah, Patty, I totally, again, agree. It's you want to return in this game, right? I think holding, you're at a somewhat disadvantage because of how talented people's returns are these days. And being that returning team, especially in this matchup, has been a huge advantage. So I think you'd like to get out of this game, hopefully get a hold, and then hopefully go for the, get an early break and maybe momentumly kind of break spirits a bit.
You got it.
I kind of feel like if the play speeds up a little bit, it becomes a hands play advantage, Lopez Page.
100%. And after that last miss, you heard, Allison Morgan really trying to be a good partner, as we talked about earlier, to score and say, hey, no big deal. We got a few more points in this game. Let's focus one at a time here and dial in. And that's what we're seeing right here with all these heavy rollers.
Yeah, you saw the two-handed backhand roller from Sakura there.
Not a shot you see that much, but she clearly has that in the arsenal, to no one's surprise, with her backhand off the deck.
Again, Lopez is doing a good job of picking that right pocket of Allison Morgan there. Allison couldn't come up with that one, little too far over. And that's the Lopez return of serve. She's highly efficient. She can attack anything.
Yeah, and similar to that last match, Patty, look, Allison Morgan has missed maybe 2 volleys in the last 5 games, so I'd be curious if, they get back to that due situation, if she goes, I'm going to stay back and just redrive a forehand and just guarantee that, okay, we're going to take the net, I trust my athleticism or not. But, okay, it won't matter because Lopez and Page were able to get the break back and are serving down 3-5.
Yeah, little volley error. Sakura and Morgan are an amazing volley team. They favor their backhand volleys. They make most of them. Right there, Sakura got caught a little bit upright, and that ball just floated a little bit long on her paddle. And, I feel that momentum. I feel it a little bit swinging away from them right now, Brian.
Totally
so
agree.
Subtle, but just amazing how a point changes momentum.
So, Patty, I'm a tennis player, and you mentioned, they are hitting backhand volleys. Why would they do that versus forehand volleys?
So because the court is smaller than a tennis court, you have much less time, and, typically the game is played with a serve moving forward to the net for a first volley. You get drilled with a ton of balls right at your body. And so it's really hard to decide at that point if you're going to hit a forehand or a backhand. So if you come in and you can set your paddle on that backhand, you're going to come up with a ton more balls. You won't play as many out balls. And you have, a far greater range than you can appreciate reaching all the way to your left as a righty player. And you can reach well off your right hook, still on your backhand. Your forehand kind of stops once it crosses the middle of your body. So you get a greater range, early decision making, gives you the ability to absorb the pace of the drive, put a little backspin on that ball with a slightly open paddle face. You just don't have time against great returners to make that decision, Brian. It's a mistake I see way too many club players make. B. Lopez serving down 3-5, but up 40 love. Second set. Women's action from Chicago Charities, Glenview Club in Gulf, Illinois.
And Patty, that point versus the previous 3 in that game probably went 45 shots, right? The other ones went maybe 10, 15, 20. The longer the point, the bigger the advantage Morgan Segura had to win it.
You, get in. You. You.
Keep lobbing to the middle. If I'm Morgan and Sikora, keep throwing lobs up in the middle of court. Test the partnership here and the early communication between Lopez and Page.
You.
You know, you can see a little bit of hesitation where they're deciding who's going to go for that ball. There it is, the big roller off that back screen, and that's the risk of it when you play against a player as fast as Morgan. She can catch up to that ball and handled it beautifully, and now Morgan Sikora have a little advantage at the net. Big advantage. Great shot from Sikora, great hands play. That ball was going low. Her paddle was so close to the net. She really had to be careful not to touch the net on her follow through on that shot, or if she swung at all on that ball. Beautiful touch shot into that deuce court corner for a winner. Still another game point. B. Lopez serving. Charlotte Sikora about to crack a two-handed backhand. Follow it up with her signature play. Great pressure. Morgan Sikora take over the net.
No, wide. Let's go. Great move. Great move.
Great comeback. Just a little comeback in this game, Brian. Kind of has stalled Lopez and Page's momentum.
You, block. You got it. Help. I don't know.
Again, a lot of lobs to the middle. You see that, Brian? Morgan's really testing the teamwork over there, the net play with Lopez and Page.
Also, Patty, no one ever has missed a lob wide by aiming down the middle. So there's a lot to be said for that, right? You're not missing the overhead or the lob. You're forcing them to make a decision. To your point, you're testing the partnership. But the other part of it is, okay, you're minimizing your risk. And I think that's a huge thing, especially on a point like this.
You. One. You.
Great. Smooth swing from Sikora.
And again, she aimed down the middle. Safe for her, but also she's trusting, hey, they may not be shifting correctly, right? As you said, second time playing together, third time playing together. Very, very smart.
Well, she recognized the opening. They didn't shift on that point at all, and it was there. And you know, Lopez and Page, they don't want to volley a ball that's in an awkward position. So they kind of saw it coming because of the lack of depth on the prior shot. So they knew they were kind of leaving town on that shot altogether.
Very smart.
They were just giving it to Sikora, and they just dropped back happily.
Limit your risk of losing the point. Staying up there, maybe they have a 40% chance of winning, of hitting the volley. But if they just go back, they have a 100% chance of getting the ball back off the screen.
For sure. You see Morgan Sikora hitting decent amount of balls into the middle. And this is where I like Lopez handling them with her backhand versus Paige coming well out of her corner on her forehand. If they're just going to lob the ball, I'd rather keep Paige in an ideal position to crack a forehand when one goes her way versus cheating over to the middle, Brian, and then exposing her corner for them, to them.
Me? You. I'm good, I'm good.
Great combination, great serve, Patty. B is just serving, ridiculously well, especially to that deuce side, following up with a really, really great overhead. Might have gotten a seam or a little nick there, and they have gained point.
There it is.
Beautiful two-hander.
And that's the first time she's gone down the line in probably 4 games, Patty. So A, very gutsy to do that, but B, possible the net person, you get a little lax when you're expecting someone where they're going to hit it. But more than anything, that was just an unbelievably good backhand on the line.
And it's great you just have to keep the net team honest, and throwing that ball down the line occasionally can kind of mess with what they think is coming their way. So that's why, to your point, mix it up a little bit. The line, going over the net, the higher part of the net down the line presents a little risk, but these guys are so good they can put some top on that ball, no problem.
And there was your call out again, Patty. It actually, on that return, it went to Sakura's backhand, but she didn't swing at it, even though she had just crushed the last 5 or 6, because she didn't like the spot. If you don't like the spot, don't force it.
Let's go.
Morgan Sakura. They win the second set, 6-3.
So, Brian, big turnaround for Morgan Sakura, win that second set, 6-3. We'll be right back in just a moment after these messages right here on the APTA YouTube channel presented by CSM Media.
At Corient, wealth management begins and ends with you. We believe the more personal the solution, the more powerful the result. We treat your goals as our own. We never lose focus on the life you want to build. And our experienced advisors design custom-built strategies to help you get there. It's time for a wealth management experience as sophisticated as you are. It's time for Corient.
Welcome back to the APTA Tour. We're here at the Chicago Charities Platform Tennis Tournament in Gulf, Illinois, with quarterfinal action here between B. Lopez, Taya Page, up against Charlotte Sakura and Allison Morgan. I'm Patty Hogan with Brian Fegg, and we have a great match here in front of us. Lopez and Page just got off to a lights-out start, dominating play, 6-1. The veteran team, Morgan Sakura, came back, Brian, turned it around in that second set. Real steady play. What do you expect for the third?
I have no idea, Patty, because this has been a seesaw of a match. I am going to stick with what I just saw in the second, though. I think Morgan Sakura's level rose, and I think that they have, I'm not going to say figured out B. Lopez and Page, but I do think that they have calmed down a little bit and they've weathered the storm, and I think it's up to Lopez and Page to raise their level again in order to get this third set.
I agree with you, Brian. It's interesting. When I said when we went on the air about how Lopez Page have a lot of confidence in their abilities, and they feel that they are working every match to becoming a team that by the end of the season is in contention at every tour stop they play in, but also for the national title. And, they can bring the heat, as you saw in that first set. And Morgan Sikora just, didn't play a good first set. They got off to a slow start. First 5 games, not spectacular for them. Then you kind of started seeing them work their way into this match, and a really rock solid second set there. With baseline play, the switch with Sikora going over into that ad court, Brian, I think that was significant. I think she does pose a different kind of threat than Allison Morgan does over there. And so I feel like that game, that whole second set, the points got longer, as you kept saying. It seemed like the longer the points, the more it went in favor of Morgan Sikora. When you had those really quick hand exchange, the hands of these young players, Paige and Lopez, lights out, and that's where Morgan Sikora maybe didn't fare so well. So I think, I think for Morgan Sikora, they're dictating the tempo of the match, and I'll be curious to see if Lopez, Paige start this match like those first 2 sets didn't happen, and all they remember is the first set where they played lights out and went on attack mode and took advantage of any short serve, looking to be really aggressive. So that's kind of what I'll be looking for from them in the third set.
Me too, and I think they need to leverage more of the court. I feel like with Sikora moving over, the rollers they were pounding into the backhand are no longer as effective, right? And I think they're missing the opportunity. Oh, let me go with a roller at Allison Morgan. Let me go with a soft one. Let me push one down the middle. Let me go hard to the side screen. I think with this third set, more than anything, you need to get them back to being uncomfortable, which is what happened in the first set. And I think the only way to do that, right, is variation on overheads, which we've talked so much about today, Patty.
Yeah, in other quarterfinal action here on the top half of the women's draw in the Charities event, Bursa Elliott pulled out a win, 0-4 actually, against team of Banks and O'Sullivan. Solid, really good second set there for Banks and O'Sullivan. That's impressive for them. So Bursa and Elliott are off the court and will await the winner of this match in semifinal play tomorrow morning. On the other half of the draw, Hall Ballard Jackson. I don't know if we have any result on that yet, Brian. Do you have a result on their match? I don't think that I think that was a late starting match, so never mind. The lower half of the draw matches are about an hour behind the top half of the draw. So
yeah, I think they're only a few games in, Patty. So I'm gonna say maybe 3-1 or 2-1, but
okay.
5-2. Sorry, 5-2. I've been told for the Cincinnati team.
5-2 for Cincy. And Brian, how about Cincy women's paddle?
Oh my goodness.
I mean, when you moved out to Cincy, everything changed in the women's game, don't you think, Brian?
Yeah, a direct correlation with me moving out there. No, I mean, because obviously, like Heather Prop had been there, and Heather is a fantastic, teacher, but obviously player and had been playing for a long time. The men out there, right? They've had some obviously great men performance recently too. Cincinnati Paddle is just continuing to get better and better and grow, which is really what you want for this kind of sport, right? Is just get more people involved, get better players, and again, I lived there for a few years, so shout out to all those guys there. Really loved that city, and I think the paddle scene there is only getting better and better.
So, Brian, who's who here? Can you reset the players for everybody watching from home?
I can, and it's very tricky, everyone, because everyone's wearing the same thing. So currently serving with the ball is Charlotte Sikora.
The taller of the two. Black.
Yep, thanks, Patty, in black, serving. Her partner up at net is Allison Morgan. She's the one currently on the up at net on the deuce side. In the backcourt.
On the right of the two players at the net.
Yep. And then on the close side in the camera, you can see currently hitting overheads. That would be Tay Page. And in the forehand on the person now you can see in your camera angle would be B. Lopez.
Okay. So, Brian, I feel like I'm pretty quick. I just got confused by that. So it is funny because the camera angle keeps changing, and you start introducing a player from one spot, and then they're not there anymore. What a rip. B. Lopez is over there in that ad court currently. She's got that blue paddle, and you just saw her rip that shot. This is what I'll be curious about. For Lopez and Page, you know, the adjustment I think they need to make from time to time, if things aren't going well, switch courts up a little bit during the point. They love returning with Lopez in that deuce court and Page out of the ad court. But I would look to see a little bit more switching on the baseline to get B. Lopez over in that ad court, because she's played a lot of matches, and as we said, she is our defending national mixed champion with Alvi Regalado, and she's got a real good sense of points and moments and what shots are kind of needed to, you know, at the time in the match. And I think she's smart beyond her years as a paddle player.
Yeah, we talked about all the positives of switching actually in the last match, Patty, where, you know, you're giving the player you want, you know, certain looks, right? And that could be more offensive looks, more defensive look, just more balls in general, but also giving the opposing team a different look, which I think that would absolutely help quite a bit, change what Allison Morgan and Charlotte Sikora are doing.
Feel the heat here from Page. You know, Page and Lopez are bringing it right here, and you can feel it again, and that's what they need to do to be as good as they can be in this match. What a beautiful two-handed backhand out of that backside corner over there from Taya Page.
Oh, it's great running and defending by Allison Morgan there. She is a phenomenal athlete and fast. She was all over the court there.
Real positive start for Lopez Page out of the block here, coming up with that break to start the third set. Quarterfinal action from the Chicago Charities event. So, Brian, I think this is a huge game right now. Even though it's really early in the third set, Page and Lopez just had a little spark there. They went back to what they love doing as a team, which is applying tremendous pressure, and came up with the early break here in the third set.
And Patty, both teams are doing a great job communicating. I don't know if you can pick it up with the mics, but both of them, every point saying me, you. Very, very important to make sure on these points. And Allison Morgan just couldn't get out of the way of that heavy roller there on the first point of the game here.
Again, we talk about Morgan and Sikora, their ability to kind of dictate the pace of play, the tempo. And I like the pressure that Sikora is, you know, applying there from that ad court. I like it a lot. But this is huge here for Morgan Sikora. And they don't mind a little help. That was a gift on the, you know, a fault from Lopez.
And I jinxed her. I think in the last service game I mentioned she hasn't had a fault in maybe the entire match, and that might have been the first.
but she goes big.
Oh, it's a
beautiful
huge
service motion, and
serve.
she hits it.
It's up.
It's a ton of confidence. I mean, it's a heavy, heavy serve. One of the better ones, I would say, Patty, currently on the women's tour.
Yeah, not bad for someone who barely weighs 100 pounds.
Yeah, right? Absolutely.
Did that just miss, Brian?
Yeah, I thought that just missed. Very close call, though.
That's you. Yep. That's me.
I like what I see when they're dumping balls down the middle. I want to see Sakura make a move like she could be hitting her forehand. Sometimes she kind of stands there, Brian, and she knows she's yielding the shot to Morgan in the deuce court. But I kind of like it when a player makes a move, just a little bit of a look, showing their paddle, being ready to capitalize if they happen to get the forehand there.
Absolutely. They just are, when they see Allison Morgan's paddle down, right? It's similar to saying you're being ready to hit it, right? They're relaxed. They're relaxing because of that.
Come on.
What a great overhead and volley combination there by Sakura.
Good
Huge.
recognition she had. She had that ad court available, hit a ball kind of near the nook, worked out well, and a break point to try to get even here, third set.
Morgan, Sakura. Games are 1-all, third set.
So, Brian, the question will be, does the first team who hold serve wins this third set?
That's a stellar question, and I have a 50% chance of getting it right, and I'm going to say yes. And Patty, that is a great, great move to just get involved and Morgan Sakura, that's their game plan, and just it was read perfectly by Paige.
And I like that from Paige. A little surprise attack for sure.
It surprised me, Patty. So, and I'm not even playing. So that's a really good move and sneaky. And again, they didn't even consider that as an option happening there.
How many times over the years have we seen with Hanish Sabori, with Floor Hanish having a sneak attack, blitz, just when you don't expect it. And that's a sign of a great player when there's a moment and you can pull something off that can just really shock the other team.
Yeah, in tennis, right? We have the saber, which is the sneak attack by Roger. We have the sneak attack by Floor Hanish. Instead, she athletically, right? That's her main skill set. I feel like she's so athletic and absolutely makes a living on that and drives people crazy.
Again, you saw the sneak move by Paige out of that ad court. Came up with a good hands play when they put it at her feet. And that's right there. That's a huge shot for Paige, Brian. She has that paddle wide open facing up to the sky and just lifting the ball. Big improvement from last weekend. And that's the thing about screens, Brian, as you know. Once you get them, you get them. And you know, it's just going to be a matter of time. That's why, you know, club level players, a lot of them will block the ball, any ball that they know they can't make out of the screen, where eventually you're going to make them. So you got to miss them to make them, I always think, in screens.
Yeah, the screen's your friend, Patty, and I think a lot of people get intimidated by letting the ball go there, and it really is a game changer. Not only just to, you increase your odds of getting the ball in play, but your timing, right? You have more time, and it really allows you to focus on where you're hitting your next shot.
And see, I think Lopez could have blitzed on that. She had a great lob over Morgan's head. Sakura went way over, a little hesitation. That might have been a great time for a sneak attack. Great defense by Morgan Sakura. And they got themselves a little trouble early in that point, defended it beautifully, and here they are. We start again.
I know this wasn't a question, but they are locked in if there ever was one up at net here. This is the paddle match they want here. This is exactly what they've been working for, right? Is this third set and grind away, and win these big points. So it'll be interesting to see again how Lopez and Page can kind of change the script here.
But again, Brian, I'm telling you, Page's play out of that ad-court screen, improvement from last weekend.
I want to be able to say that from like last decade, maybe, Patty. So hearing from last week is remarkable, and that that comes with just having superior racket talent and confidence in yourself.
30, 15. And clearly there's the strategy. Morgan Sakura, they're testing Page every opportunity, really isolating B. Lopez out in that two-score corner. Brian, B. Lopez may have to put a jacket on. She's getting frozen out here.
Patty, it's so funny. It's getting colder anyway, so I kind of agree with you. And I think that you said it earlier, she needs to fade middle. I'm a lefty who plays the forehand without a forehand. I prefer my backhand, so I'm almost a righty. And she's moving all the way over to hit that. I think she has to just keep them a little off guard and force them to go to her corner, right? And get her to make more changes in dynamic swings.
Right, and then when the ball goes to Page, Page is getting lots of good looks and, is going to get so many forehands.
Absolutely, that one.
She doesn't need to force any.
No, exactly.
So that's Allison Morgan serving 30 all, one all, third set. One set, everything's even up here at Chicago Charities. Winner of this match comes up against defending national champs, Burris and Elliott, in one semifinal tomorrow morning. What
That's
a great
an unbelievable pickup. Wow, what a great point. Patty, I don't know about you. I'm not getting that ball on 12 bounces. 12 bounces, maybe 15. I'm feeling a little slow in the booth today.
No, great hands play. Really soft hands by Charlotte Sakura, just dropping that ball, but wow, with speed to run that ball down.
No, out. Come on.
Let's go. Game, Morgan Sakura. They lead game 1, third set.
So was that a let cord? She had the spot. She had the middle kind of available to her, but I think it just went long off the net, Brian?
Correct, yep. Just about a half a ball long. And now the lights are getting turned on here, Patty. It's getting a little dark for the players here.
Brian, who's up in the chair? Who's our umpire for this match?
Yeah, that's a great question. It's Rob LeBun is up there. Shout out to Rob for being up there. This is, I think, his second match in a row. Basically, he's been up there for like 4.5, 5 hours now. I feel like
He's been
almost.
up there for a decade.
Yes, correct. And I've been in the cozy booth with all these wonderful people, and he's up there, basically solo. So major shout out.
Yeah, LeBun does a great job. Does a ton of the events out in the Midwest. Really, one of our game's best umpires. He's a Jersey guy from Morris County, from Morristown, New Jersey. So, little break here. So here we go with Taya Page serving the biggest game of her paddle career so far, I think, Brian. Down 1-2, third set, Charities quarterfinals.
That is absolutely fair to say. Major moment here for her.
So Morgan Sikora got the first hold in this third set, and you said the team who held first would win.
I stand by it.
Did you go to DraftKings with that bet?
They didn't like the odds there, so I shopped around, maybe around here for those. But no, not yet, Patty. Maybe in the next X couple of years we'll get some paddle on DraftKings.
Thank God it's not.
Yes, correct. I totally agree.
So, Brian, big turnaround in this match was when Morgan and Sikora switched courts. Do you agree?
That goes without saying, Patty. Absolutely. I mean, that probably is the key difference between the first set and now. And as you can see, Paige is getting a little frustrated. So let's see if she can kind of recalibrate on this serve. Very good of Lopez to take her time with her.
Really good return from Morgan. Just used that back screen and used it to her advantage. Not sure what happened. Was that?
Yeah, it was an overrule by the chair ump. They thought it was long on the serve, and chair overruled.
Players call their own lines, Brian, as you know, and if the umpire sees a different way, it will instantly overrule. Players move on. Brian, how many overrules do you see in paddle? A lot.
There are a lot.
Nobody's trying to hook. People are just playing. The shots go so fast at times, and people miss calls.
And I think the best part about it is that, okay, there's an overrule. The players look up and just confirm and move on. You don't see the stuff you might see in tennis or some of these other sports. I think, everybody respects one another and understands that, okay, the ump is a volunteer and they're here to support us and the great sport we all love.
All right, you can feel it. You feel a little bit of spark again.
It's funny.
I feel like this is being driven right now. B. Lopez is doing a really good job early in this third set of really trying to keep them in there. You're seeing some errors coming out of Page here, and this is where Lopez, as a more experienced player, really needs to kind of work with her and keep her really focused and just a point at a time, point at a time. They're not going to go the way you wanted to at all. And you've got to get rid of the frustration that you might be feeling at any moment in time. And remember, it's a team sport, and your partner's B. Lopez. She won mixed nationals last year. Let her get some more looks. Do a better job. Just put more balls in play. Keep it going. You don't have to force anything. How they played the first set, that's what they're looking for here in the third set.
Something sorry, I saw Sikora. She might have hurt herself on that. Yep.
What did she do, Brian? Was it calf or?
No, it's her ankle. It's her ankle. I think she might have just slightly rolled it on that last move here, hitting the overhead. This could be a problem here, Patty. She's not looking very good. She's going to try to keep playing here, I think, but I think she might try to take a second.
Just got to see if she can stretch it out and walk it off.
Yeah, it might be her calf, but I thought it was ankle. But it could have been just like a little cramp. I think it was something that she might have slightly misstepped, and I think she might have just rolled her ankle, but she's holding her calf, it looks like.
Can we go to the instant replay?
So I don't think we're able to do that, Patty. I'm looking at her now on the sideline, and it looks like her calf.
Yeah. But I wanted to, I'd just be curious about the move that she made that, like, you know, she looked perfect, no issue, and then all of a sudden just came down wrong on it.
Yeah, she was hitting a big righty overhead kind of try to get to the side screen, and I think it was where she just overextended her leg, her back leg, to try and put more, like, plant on it and put a little more power behind it. I think she just she must have really skidded on that or something and kind of pulled this. So
Karen Jelnik, I believe that's Karen out there on the court with maybe an ice bag. I'm not sure. Players get 10 minutes if there's an injury, Brian. Where are Lopez and Page?
they are currently in. They're right off the court. You can see on the left side, Patty.
Okay.
On the edge.
Well, you know, actually, I can't see them from my camera angle. I was just wondering if they went off the court. I was
sorry.
watching.
They are off the court, just on the sideline, kind of waiting and monitoring the situation here.
Got it. Yeah, Morgan's putting on her top. I'm sure, you know, this is where with the temperatures dropping, all the players need to stay warm, focus so they don't get hurt when hopefully this match resumes. You know, this is of concern for Sakura big time here. She is a warrior, plays a ton of tournaments, super fit. And, you know, it's all about the legs out here, Brian. And it's a bummer when you see last weekend Rams was playing a match, Brian, and I saw him start to cramp up. I mean, it's intense out here. You're playing all these matches. For Morgan and Sakura, you know, they started out this morning. They had a 10 o'clock match. They kind of got through that. They got through their next round fairly easily, 1 and 2. So it's nothing to do with fitness. It's just kind of an unfortunate tweak right there. And this is not good that she's still down, Brian. This is where I think she should be able to phone a friend and give someone else her paddle for a game. What do you think, Brian? I'd like a substitute. No, all seriousness, this is a bummer. You hate seeing players get hurt, and Sakura, it looks like she's a little frustrated down there.
Yeah, Patty, she was trying to stretch it out. I don't think this is going to happen. Transparently, she seems really, really frustrated, and you know.
Yeah, and
they're grabbing some cream right now, so that's going to be some. Hopefully, I think it seems muscular at that point, right? I'm assuming just a really bad, crampish coming from that step she took. So we'll see if this is able to kind of keep her going a bit.
Who's out there helping her out? Who is that?
Yeah, I can't actually tell.
Yeah, this is.
Who I
It
can't.
doesn't look like she can continue.
No.
Which would be such a bummer. But she's, we're in the beginning of the long season. This is only, this is an early stop on the tour. So she's really got to think about her entire season and her profession, which is teaching, requires her to be physically fit on the court. She has had, some injuries over the years. She trains really hard, super fit, great athlete. She does have a tendency to have some injuries, and it's a little scary.
This game is it's really tough on the body because you're not running, right? It's not like a running sport. It's stop and go. You're constantly, doing different maneuvers with your lower body. She's getting stretched out right now. She has a calf sleeve on it. So we'll see if she can give it a go. I mean, Patty, I would be surprised if she does, but I mean, again, they're up 3-1. You know, if she feels good enough to maybe play a few games, I mean, they could win it. But again, you got to think about the entire season, to your point, and you'd have to show up and play, at a minimum, another match tomorrow, which is always a challenge as well.
Hey, Brian, can you snag Jason Love? I just saw him walk inside. Let's find out about what the injury is.
He is not here, actually.
Oh, okay. I
He,
thought I just saw him. Oh, he went the other way. He walked into the other building.
yep, all good.
I just wonder, is it ankle? Is it calf?
Yeah, I'm looking outside to see if anyone comes over here, and I will let you know, Patty, what I know.
Okay. Okay, so it's a 10-minute period of time, and then if a player can't continue, Morgan Sakura would be forced to, default this match, unfortunately for them. I think.
And quick thing,
Not
Patty.
sure what they brought out there.
It looked like just some like Bengay cream to try and hopefully like relax the I think it's muscular on the calf, so kind of relax it a bit. But we've talked a lot today, Patty, because we've had 2-3 setters about the sportsmanship and the type of players. Lindsay Herschel from our last match was actually like providing, I think, the calf like sleeve she has on her leg and/or some of this other stuff. So we've talked about a lot of the camaraderie of the players, and this is just, again, a prime example of that, where a player who, lost last round, right, is still watching the play and trying to help her fight through this injury.
Yep, this is a good sign. Sakura's up and stretching. You see, I wouldn't be surprised to see Paige and Lopez, get on the other side of the court and start hitting and staying warm again. Because they've got to assume that Sakura will be able to continue. And what do they say, Brian? Beware of the injured player. You never quite know what to expect. And, when you're a player and you're out there and you're in a great match, you don't want anybody to get hurt. And when someone does, then when you resume play, it's like, do you go after that person? Do you try to drop shot them with the first shot? It'll be curious to see how both teams respond. I was surprised Paige and Lopez didn't hit a little bit sooner here. I think they were starting to get on fire here, and Morgan and Sakura had to stop. But it didn't affect B. Lopez. She's out there. She's jumping. She's happy.
And Patty, that exact reason is probably why, I'm sitting in the booth and they're on the court here. They don't need that, I guess, right? They are clearly locked in, and I guess they didn't need, more warm up in between. But here we go.
And you can see, I would expect that Morgan, they pulled off the switch. I was thinking that maybe in the early going here, that Morgan would handle more of the overheads, be in the position to the left of the two players if you view them from behind the court. But not so. Sakura went right over there, and maybe that's great. Lets her just kind of attempt to keep it as loose as she can.
With these injuries, muscular, Patty, obviously, it no doubt hurts now. I'm almost concerned to ask, if they win this match, how it's going to feel tomorrow. That's going to be a long evening of.
Yeah, well, they're not worried about it right now.
Oh,
They're
of course
in the third
not.
set of this match.
The luxury of being a commentator is that I can, Patty, think about that the next day.
I like this from Lopez Page. Lopez is over in that ad court. This is kind of what I like to see. I like to see them pull the switches, and I want to see Lopez more involved in the outcome of this match. She was getting isolated beautifully by Morgan and Sakura, so she's inserting herself into the play by calling the switch and handling a lot of the shots out of the ad corner, which is the easier corner for two righties to attack. Great overhead from Sakura.
How that feels.
Well, Brian, this has been a great match. You know, little seesaw kind of a match. Really glad for Sakura that she's able to kind of regroup here and continue playing. And this is going to be a hell of a finish, I think.
That's unlucky there because she played exactly the right point, right? They switched, she got the ball she wanted and just clipped the net and barely went out. And you hear the encouragement right on this near side of the court, just trying to, you know, pump each other up, remind each other, hey, we're still in this match.
A little bit of shorter serve. Lopez took advantage of it, hit a good dipping shot, forced the error from Sakura. Sakura serving to Paige. 30-40. Pretty big moment in this match, Brian. Wow, what a tag from Lopez right there. Sakura maybe overjuiced that ball, and Morgan wasn't quite looking for it.
No, she was trying to get out of the way, Patty. It had a little more topspin. I think it would have landed in, but I think she's going to try to let it go and just kind of got caught. But great, you know, next serve and you know, staying on the course here after giving up 2 game points. yeah, great touch. I think you're right. Half an hour. Playable.
You know how Brian, you said it. You were spot on early, and you're like, the longer the point, the slower the pace favors Morgan Sikora.
Might be the first right thing I said all day today, Patty. Yep, and that's the ball I want Sikora to hit. Just roll, 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 force Paige to keep blocking it. Something that really affects your blocking, Patty, is obviously the ball coming at you, but something that is a big change is the temperature. It's probably gone down about 10 to 15 degrees, I'm going to say, in the last handful, maybe hour or so, maybe a little less. So something to just monitor as balls are coming in here and trying to block them.
Morgan, they lead 4-1, third set.
Brian, how lucky is the APTA to have the support of Volley and Corian as our tour sponsors for the 24-25 season?
Amazing, Patty. I mean, both are spectacular partners. The volley machine is truly a revolutionary thing. You can, the training of it with the serve and volley, its newest feature, AI-driven, empowered, mimics real game conditions, tracking your court positioning, your return to serve, just like you're having a real practice partner. It's really the ultimate and only way to sharpen your platform tennis skills with the targeted practice. Try the serve and volley today on the Volley Racket app and experience the future of training.
So 4-1, Morgan Sikora on a roll, despite the injury. They've won 4 straight games here. Lopez Page won the first game of the third set. It's been all Morgan Sikora since then. Brian, what do you think? what do Lopez and Page have to do? What's your guess?
Yeah, I think they need to be willing to hit more rollers to the deuce. I think they need to try to draw Allison Morgan in the court, and I think they need to go, hey, we can win hand-to-hand exchanges. Do I recommend to really anyone to go into a hand-to-hand exchange with Allison Morgan? Absolutely not. But I do think that that's a way they need to be more athletic and make the match more athletic, and I think that is a way to do it, is hit more of the rollers they were hitting normally to Sikora in the backhand, to Allison Morgan on the deuce. The other thing is I would absolutely hit it really hard at Sikora and force her to run on the calf. I know that's not probably the best thing morally to say necessarily, but Patty, if you're, trying to test that leg, that would be one way to do it.
That's a great look. You saw Morgan pulled one with topspin, took just a little too much off that second shot, saw a little bit of an opening there. It was a mirage. It's a hard opening to hit because of the height of the net there. But Sikora seems solid, Brian. Her footing seems good. She's pushing off. I've been just kind of watching her footwork a little bit. She looks like she's able to push off, which is a great sign.
I agree. If you had told me she was hurt, I wouldn't know it. I think she seems very solid right now. And you hear Allison Morgan really trying to pump her up right now. They know this is a critical moment here.
Brian, in the another quarterfinal match underway, Hallballer and Jackson won the first set against Basanova and Bukian, 6-2, and they are tied up at 3-all, 30-all in the second set.
Alrighty, thanks for the update, Patty.
in critical moments, I want my veteran in that position. The player to the left, if you look at them from behind, and that's B. Lopez. And I think right there, you just saw like Paige didn't quite have her footing. I think indecisive in her shot selection and made an unfortunate error. At a critical point in what they hope is a comeback in this third set.
Yeah, I was going to say, it was probably the most tight overhead she's hit. She's hit so many good rollers today in so many good spots. It's the only one she didn't look comfortable hitting.
But again, I would move her from that position at this moment. Like if you have any, if you have anything and you're feeling a little off or a little nervous or whatever, that's where, ride the wave of your partner who might be more experienced and who welcomes the ball in that moment. And it's proved to be critical here because you see 2 easy overhead errors right here in the critical game that they had to have to come back in this third set.
Yeah, Patty, 4-1 is a slippery slope. I've, managed to lose a lot of 4-1 leads in my day. 5-1 is a whole different beast. So totally agree on the importance of this game for them, especially at this level. That's a great, great close by Allison Morgan there to get the lead, go up 5-1 here in the third set.
Yeah, that's just signature pressure from Morgan Sikora. As much as any team on the women's tour, they can apply so much pressure, following up their good return of serve with pressure in your face, and you're looking up about to hit a first volley, and all of a sudden you see someone, not very far from you, and it's daunting. And all of a sudden, Paige is losing it, quite frankly, right here, Brian. Like, she's got to get it together. And this is where, there's only so much Lopez can do, but they need to slow it down big time right at this moment. Morgan Sikora just looked rock solid, got over the injury, got her over that, poorly played first set, and really looked strong.
Yeah, the players who... Sorry, I was just making sure. Okay, ball was out, so it's 30-love. But yeah, totally agree, Patty. I think players who haven't played in these tournaments or haven't played a lot of paddle know it's not physical fatigue, right? It's mental. They've been on the court for a significant amount of time, hitting a lot of balls. She's seen a lot of balls come to her. It's very easy to lose focus here.
Yet they're going back at Lopez. I think they'll go over, pull Paige out of that corner, and then go after her again.
What a shot. All right, Patty, triple match point here for Allison Morgan.
So, Brian, big comeback, huge turnaround in that match. All the credit to Morgan Sikora. Outstanding first set for Lopez and Paige, but couldn't sustain that level of play. Morgan Sikora came back big time, overrode that moment where, we had a serious concern that they might have to default the match because of an injury to Sikora, whether it's her calf or ankle, I'm still not sure. They pull out, the dominant third set by Morgan Sikora. They advance to semifinals tomorrow morning. An amazing match up with our defending national champs, Burris and Elliott. Brian, it's been a pleasure chatting with you today, and we'll do more matches in the future. So that's a wrap from the APTA live streaming. We will be back shortly with more quarterfinal action. Thanks, Brian.
Thanks, Patty.